Welcome to the ENDOF Days Chronicles channel. Within the pages of the Old Testament, there are lesser-known individuals who are often shrouded in mystery. These characters are briefly mentioned without disclosing their names. However, ancient writings and biblical sources provide more detailed information about them. In this video, we will explore the fascinating history of Ham's wife, delving into her origins and unique attributes. This episode is part of our ongoing series on the matriarchs of humanity. Don't forget to show your support by liking the video and staying tuned for more. Continuing our exploration of the wives aboard Noah's Ark, this episode focuses on the wives of Noah's 3 sons. Specifically, we will shed light on Ham's wife. These women, who were part of Noah's family, survived the Great Flood as described in the intriguing book of Genesis. Although the Bible does not reveal their names, their existence is confirmed in Genesis 6 verse 18, where God tells Noah, "But I will establish my covenant with you. You shall come into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives." Let us uncover the accounts of these courageous women aboard the ark. Within ancient Jewish tradition, we encounter an extraordinary manuscript known as the Book of Jubilees. This captivating ancient text provides a historical account of Genesis and Exodus, supplementing the biblical narrative with additional details such as genealogies, names, precise dates, specific calendars, and information about the patriarchs, religious ordinances, and ancient Israelite laws. While not considered canonical by most Jewish traditions and not included in the standard Jewish or Christian canon, the Book of Jubilees holds value for certain Jewish communities and is regarded as an important text for understanding religious thought and the history of Judaism during the Second Temple period. It has been preserved in various languages and manuscripts, including Ethiopian, Greek, and Latin. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church considers it canonical, and it is also esteemed by Jews who converted to Judaism, known as Beta Israel or Falash Mura. Many of these converts are descendants of Jews with African roots, particularly from the descendants of Cush. In the Book of Jubilees, we discover the names of Noah's sons' wives. For instance, Ham's wife is referred to as Neltamach in this manuscript. She is described as the mother of numerous peoples, including African populations and other groups with ancestral connections to Ham and his wife. Neltamach is recognized as the matriarch of African peoples, and her descendants have spread across the continent, giving rise to diverse cultures and civilizations. Her legacy is deeply intertwined with African history, influencing traditions, languages, and the connection to the land across generations. According to the Sibylline oracles, Neltamach enjoyed an astonishingly long life, spanning several centuries. This was because she belonged to a pre-Diluvian generation, born before the Great Flood. During that era, people had remarkably extended lifespans, with some reaching an impressive age of 900 years. Ham's wife, Neltamach, lived for many centuries, and during this prolonged period, she uttered several remarkable prophecies. According to the Sibylline oracles, all 3 wives of Noah's sons were prophetesses, and their prophetic abilities. The wives of Noah's sons, including Neltamach, were not only present on the ark but also played a crucial role in conveying prophecies to their respective generations and the nations descended from them. In Christian traditions dating from the 2nd century AD, particularly in the Aramaic Targum known as the Syriac Targum, additional information can be found. The Syriac Targum, also referred to as Targum Pseudo-Jonathan or Targum Yonatan II, is an Aramaic translation or paraphrase of the Old Testament. It focuses primarily on the historical books of the Old Testament, distinguishing it from more well-known Targums such as Targum Onkelos for the Pentateuch and Targum Yonatan for the Prophets. The Syriac Targum is believed to have been composed between the 6th and 9th centuries AD. Although it is not widely used in Jewish or Christian contexts today and may be less familiar compared to other versions, it offers intriguing insights into the interpretation and translation of the Bible during ancient times. It serves as a valuable resource for scholars interested in exploring the literary and cultural traditions of Judaism from that era. Street. Hippus, a Christian writer, also mentions a related tradition, although he alters the names of Ham and Japheth as wives. According to this tradition, Ham's wife is named Zedit Nabu. A captivating aspect of Christian traditions is the ancient legend surrounding Ham's wife during the time of the flood. According to this legend, God instructed Noah to destroy the first person who proclaimed the beginning of the flood. However, at that moment, Ham's wife was baking bread, and when the water suddenly rushed out of the oven, destroying the bread, she exclaimed that the flood had begun. She began shouting and proclaiming that the flood was starting. In response, God decided to revoke his earlier command so that Noah wouldn't destroy his own daughter-in-law, a member of his own family who was about to be saved from the great flood. This curiosity exists within Christian traditions regarding Ham's wife, as mentioned in the book of Genesis, chapter 10, and the book of Jubilees. Ham's wife bore him 4 sons, Cush, Mra, Put, and Canaan. Notably, the first 3 sons of Ham and Neltamach gave rise to various nations primarily in the African region. However, Canaan, who was the ancestor of the Canaanites, also known as the ancient Phoenicians, from the Middle East, did not contribute to the African lineage. The Canaanites were enemies and rivals of the Israelites for many centuries. Despite Canaan not being the central focus of the biblical narrative, his name became associated with the land of Canaan, which was mentioned as the region that would become the inheritance of the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob after their journey there. This land includes geographic areas that are now part of Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, and Jordan. It is interesting to observe how these biblical accounts and ancient legends shed light on the history and origins of different ethnic groups and cultures. From Ham's lineage, the main ethnic group that emerged was primarily the Sumerians, specifically the Sumerian people. This is because the ancient Sumerian civilization traced its roots back to the descent from Cush. It is important to mention that Nimrod, described in the Bible as a mighty man on the earth, played a significant role in colonizing the region mentioned in the book of Genesis, which later became Babylon. He is credited as the founder of several ancient cities, including Babel, Irad, and Calneh. A notable portion of the local population in that area had Semitic origins, which included groups such as the Akkadians, Chaldeans, Assyrians, Syrians, and Arameans. It is interesting to observe that the Sumerians traced their lineage back to Cush, influenced by Nimrod. Additionally, it is worth mentioning that the ancient Egyptians were descendants of Neltamach, Ham's wife, through her son Mra. The name Mra is often associated with the region that eventually became Egypt in biblical and historical traditions. Egypt played a significant role in the ancient Near East and is frequently mentioned in the Bible in relation to events such as the enslavement of the Israelites and the Exodus led by Moses. Another group descended from Neltamach are the ancient Nubians, who were often referred to as Cush in antiquity due to their connection to Cush, one of Ham and Mach's sons. The land of Cush is mentioned in several passages, and the Cushites are frequently mentioned in historical and geographical contexts, especially in relation to Egypt. Sometimes, the term Cush is also used more broadly to refer to distant or exotic lands. In addition to the Nubians, it is important to highlight that the ethnicities of Ethiopia, as well as the peoples of Eritrea, Somalia, and the entire African continent, have their origins in the lineage of Neltamach and Ham. It is crucial to emphasize that the mistaken interpretation of the curse of Canaan as something that affected Africans is false and harmful. This notion was fabricated by individuals who did not accurately understand the biblical text. It is essential to clarify that the curse of Canaan is not connected to African peoples, but rather to the Canaanite people of the Middle East from the land of Canaan. Incorrectly associating this curse with Africans is a distortion and a misinterpretation of the Bible. The curse of Canaan is a narrative found in the Bible, specifically in Genesis 9 verses 20 to 27, which involves Noah, his vineyard, his intoxication, and subsequent events with his sons. This story does not pertain to Africans, but rather to the Canaanites, and should not be used to justify any form of racial discrimination or prejudice against African peoples. The Bible itself does not endorse or promote any form of racial hierarchy or discrimination. It is important to approach biblical texts with careful study and understanding, taking into account their historical and cultural contexts. We appreciate your participation in this exploration of the topic and hope you found it informative and engaging. If you enjoyed this content, We encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel to stay updated with future discussions and explore more fascinating subjects. Thank you for your support, and we look forward to continuing this journey of knowledge together.